Welcome to the Bearded Bro Show podcast. I have a very special guest, and his name, can I call you, I guess I can call you Bluray Angel, or just
Yes,
Angel.
That's absolutely right. You can call me Bluray Angel. It's the name that my brother gave me because I have an addiction to collecting Blu-rays. Movies are my life. And so I went with that Twitter handle because I was like, that's very fitting. Makes me think of my brother. We love watching movies.
Streaming will not kill the Blu-rays. Streaming will not kill the Blu-rays.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate you. Seriously.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, to give you guys kind of a story of how I found Angel, and I gave him a little bit of a brief, like, this is how I found you before we started recording, but the Batman trailer. All right, this thing drops. Robert Pattinson, gonna be Batman, all that. Like, I've been as hyped as Angel. Well, I don't know. Like, Angel's reaction was huge. All right, like, and let me tell you guys. This is how I found him, because I found the one man on this planet that had the absolute best, and I put best BEST all caps reaction to the Batman trailer I've seen yet. I've seen compilation videos of reactions, and then he's not in it. I'm in the comment section, and I'm saying, no, link to Goat Movie Podcast right here, because, like, the best reaction. So much so that Matt Reeves himself shared it. Like, I was at work whenever the Batman trailer dropped. I still regret reacting, because I have a food review channel, but my little taste of, like, movie stuff in that channel is, like, I'll do trailer reactions. And also, hey, it helps your watch time, man. It helps your watch time. Because I have had a lot of views from reacting to, like, Godzilla trailer and stuff like that when that dropped.
Man.
But I found Angel because Matt Reeves himself, the director of Robert Pattinson's Batman, shared his reaction. How do you feel about that? And, like, obviously you're excited, but, like, how did that whole thing come about? And how, like, and I know about the I Am Vengeance thing, like, you kind of, in a way, guessed the line that Pattinson was going to drop. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your comments. I honestly, this is amazing, and I still cannot believe it to this day that Matt Reeves actually, like, shared my trailer reaction video. Like, first of all, I didn't even think he would watch trailer reactions. I usually do trailer reactions as, like, a hobby, especially for stuff on our channel, our movie podcast channel. So believe me, I had been waiting for this trailer my whole life, right? All of us have been, right? And the second that this trailer dropped, Batman fans died that day. Non-Batman fans became Batman fans that day. And people who were tired of Batman were reborn that day. That's how special that trailer was, man. I'm telling you, if you watch that reaction, all of that was live, and it was really just hard to formulate my thoughts on that trailer after watching it, because it really did feel like an out-of-body experience. Like, it really did feel life-changing. It really felt like the planets were aligned. Everything about it was so perfect, man. I can't exaggerate that enough. Like, it really was perfect. I love watching movie trailers just as much as I love watching movies. So as a trailer in itself, it really did, like, supersede all my expectations. I loved it. I mean, if we're talking about the creative team, Robert Pattinson, Michael Giacchino as the composer, Matt Reeves as the director, Greg Fraser as the cinematographer, I had been anticipating this trailer for a long time. When Robert Pattinson was cast, my brother he was the one that informed me. He was like, bro, Robert Pattinson is the Batman. I freaked the hell out. I actually jumped into my pool because I was so excited about the casting, because we had recently watched Good Time by the Safdie brothers, right? So we were like, oh, hell no. Like, Robert Pattinson as the Batman, it is absolutely perfect. He's going to bring a Bruce Wayne that we haven't seen before, a Bruce Wayne that is more intricate, somebody that is psychologically dreading the death of his parents. And what happened? That trailer dropped, and that's exactly what I saw. We saw a noir-driven detective Batman story, something that we haven't seen before. Something like in your discussion with Dustin, where you guys mentioned we saw brief moments of that in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. We saw brief moments of that. With this trailer, it was very blatant that we were getting something that was rested on the shoulders of Batman, right? His point of view, him on the crime scenes, him trying to figure out who's behind these heinous crimes,
Batman for
which
once.
is the Riddler. Exactly.
Like that's what I want.
Batman.
That's what I've been wanting for years, man.
Exactly. Detective Batman wholeheartedly. And that's why I freaked the hell out. Because already I was like, ooh, okay. I knew Robert Pattinson was going to be amazing. Check. I knew Matt Reeves knew how to handle this character. Check. He's somebody like Caesar, where, they have a traumatic backstory, and they're having trouble grappling. They're having trouble grappling within themselves to do the right thing in such a inhumane world. Great, Matt Reeves gets it. Cinematography. This looks stunning. It looks like
and for like what they have, man. Like for what the footage that they 25% or something like that. And I'm like, they made a full-fledged trailer out of this. Like, it looks fantastic.
Was unbelievable too. Absolutely. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people forget that, especially when I ask people to compare the Dune trailer with the Batman trailer, which I can't wait to talk about with you on this later after we're done with the Batman, is what your thoughts are on the Dune trailer. But the Batman trailer, they were able to construct something that was so magnificent with 25% of footage during a global pandemic. So that was also in the back of my mind as I was watching this trailer, right? Because I'm fully invested in all aspects of filmmaking. So when I'm looking forward to a movie, I got to know everybody behind the team, everybody behind the script, everybody behind the cinematography. Greg Fraser, one of my favorite cinematographers working today, the cinematographer of Zero Dark 30, of Foxcatcher, of Lion, Rogue One. Okay,
Ooh.
This trailer looks beautiful. Wow, right? And we haven't even gotten to the point where, okay, let's see how he fights. Because that was the final question that me and my brother had always been discussing, right? I was like, okay, how does he fight? And my brother was like, yeah, Robert Pattinson, before we saw anything, he's kind of skinny, right? He's kind of thin. He's much thinner than Ben Affleck, Christian Bale, who were walking around at like 240 pounds. So I told my brother, I said, I have a feeling that Matt Reeves knows exactly how Batman is supposed to fight. He's supposed to be swift. He's supposed to be volatile. He's supposed to be violent. He's supposed to be the
basically an
Batman.
Entire movie of Ben Affleck in the warehouse.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So I literally just watched BBS with a friend of mine yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a Scorsese-length film with Ben Affleck's fighting style,
and Ben Affleck,
and we got it, right?
I wish we would have got that origin. Like, oh my god, I love him as Batman, but I honestly have this feeling just from this trailer, like we haven't seen the movie, so it's obviously like from a trailer, it's always hard to kind of like, you can say how amazing something is, but can't really say like, oh, this movie is gonna be like. I mean, yeah, we can jump up and down and say this movie's gonna be amazing, but like I always try to go into a movie theater like right before, just like, okay, leave my expectations at the door. Just leave my expectations at the door, because it's easy to get hyped and everything, but there have been so many times in movies where I get kind of let down just because like I think it's going to be this like, oh, this is going to be the movie like that's meant to be seen for my whole life, like my whole life is complete after I see this movie. Like that's kind of how I felt about Infinity War and Endgame, is like these movies are going to be like mind-blowing, and they're great, but like, it's an in the moment kind of thing. But I knew I knew Pattinson is like gonna be good, but what I was about to say a minute ago was Pattinson better than like Ben Affleck or anybody like that. It's like we'll just have to see, but it's just that feeling. Like I feel like he is literally going to shove himself down people's throats like he does at the end of that trailer. Like, no more Twilight. Get over that. Because
that's exactly what happened.
And I tell people all the time, like I literally hear the most stupid, like even friends of mine that are like, oh, Twilight Boy's gonna be Batman. I'm be like, listen, like Pattinson hated being on those movies. He hated it.
Oh yeah, he hated it.
And I've seen all the interviews. I've seen himself like literally talk about it. I don't know if you've watched Actors on Actors. I've ever seen that show. It's kind of like
I do. I love it.
Almost like it's almost like a podcast for like two actors or actresses talking, and I love that. I love getting caught up in that. But I've seen Pattinson talk about it, and he hated being on Twilight, and he just like ever since then he has proved himself to be amazing. And like you referenced Good Time earlier, I literally just watched that like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago for the first time. Like, love it. Like
What a
just
movie.
like Good Time.
Yeah. No, yeah, what a movie that is.
Oh, I thought you said what movie?
Oh.
I was like, wait, what movie? What movie? No.
The one
like,
you just mentioned. Am I going crazy? No, what a movie that is from the
I know,
Safdie
man.
brothers.
It's all the performance.
Robert Pattinson's
It's all the performance.
It really is all in the performance. Like,
because he's a dick.
that is
In the
literally
movie.
like, yeah, like he is such a disgusting person in that film. But that is like the source material right there. Anybody who had any doubts about Robert Pattinson as Batman, I always recommend them to check out his filmography during the decade post Twilight, right?
Yeah.
So you could either watch Good Time, you could either watch The Rover.
Ooh, The Rover's so good.
The Lighthouse. The Rover is amazing.
I haven't seen The
Nope.
Lighthouse, but I want to so bad.
Yeah, I saw The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse overall as a movie, it wasn't for me, but the performances, of course, were outstanding. I mean, you
Just
have
such a
Robert
weird
Pattinson.
movie from those
Yeah,
trailers.
it's so
like I
insane,
I see that
the
cut
fact
of Willem
that,
Dafoe
like,
yelling like oh or something
I
like
don't know,
that.
I
I'm
just
like, what
loved
is
it
going
so-
on in this?
I love their performances so much. Robert Pattinson, great performer. For those of you who still don't believe, I don't know how you don't believe in him after watching the Batman trailer.
I know,
But
right?
what will definitely like convert you as a Robert Pattinson believer as the Batman, watch Good Time, watch The Lighthouse, watch The Rover, watch The Lost City of Z. Watch his performances in these smaller indie films where they are heavily character driven. And you're going to know exactly what type of actor this man is, how he's
Right.
grown from Twilight, you know? And also,
Yeah.
I didn't mind him in Twilight. Sue me.
I know,
all
right? I know. I keep saying that when people say
Team
that.
Edward,
I'm like,
bruh.
I was
Team
like,
Edward.
you know, a lot of people are like, yeah, Twilight, whatever, like girls' books or whatever. And I'm like, honestly, I walked out of Twilight being like, this is okay. Like, I mean, you know, it kind of went downhill, and then I kind of lost track of however even many they made. But I watched Twilight for the first time long after it'd been out in a hotel room with my best friend. Like, we literally watched Twilight together, two grown men, like watching Twilight, and yeah. That's the thing, is like ever since he started, he's been a great actor. It's crazy. He hated being in them, but he gave it his all.
100%. And I also loved him in Harry Potter when he joined
and I keep
for
forgetting about
Goblet of
that,
Fire.
yeah. It's crazy.
I thought he was wonderful. So I always rooted for him. And the trailer solidified to me that, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. And then some. And then some. That's where I actually lost my actual damn mind. The and then some part. Because all the pieces fell into place. Okay, I'm getting exactly what I expected. This team is incredible. All the films that I've seen them do, I trust in them. But then, and I'm glad you mentioned this, because I did tweet this out before the trailer came out. Because for trailers, I do anticipate, okay, what's going to be the tagline? What's going to be the line that people will always reminisce about? And I put out suggestions like, I am the Knight, I am Batman, I am Vengeance. And sure enough, it was I'm vengeance, right? It was I
think
actual
everybody thought that right when you hear you think that was the twist. Cause it was like, okay, I've never read, is there a comic where Batman says I'm vengeance? Because I do know that it's Kevin Conroy delivering that in the animated series. I know that
Yeah.
exists,
Yeah.
but is that like the I am vengeance, I am the Knight, I am Batman? That's an original from one of the comics, right?
I'm sure it is from one of the comics. I was first exposed to it in the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, me too.
Because Kevin Conroy, to me, he's like the definitive version of Batman across
And Mark Hamill's
several.
the best Joker. I don't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah, exactly. No, I literally grew up on them, right? Though that was my exposure to DC lore and to Batman. And I think they best realize the comics. They take the best storylines, characters, tones from the comics, and they really establish probably the greatest television series ever with the animated series, right? So I was exposed to the I am vengeance line there. Years have passed. We've had so many different versions of Batman. We've never heard that line from somebody else other than Kevin Conroy, let alone live action. right?
I know, right? That's insane.
So
and that's
when
that's insane.
when I heard I'm Vengeance, it could have been I'm Batman, and I'm sure we would have freaked because it looked amazing. He fights great, and the voice is there. It could have been I'm Batman, and yeah, I probably would have lost my mind. But there was something different about I'm Vengeance.
Yeah, because it literally tricks you. You got the thug that's like, "Who are you supposed to be?" or whatever, and he literally think he's gonna. When he says "I'm," it's like, okay, it's I'm Batman. I'm Vengeance. I was like, holy crap! Like, okay, basically, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link to I forgot to say this earlier. The link to Angel's reaction is down there. The best reaction because how he expressed himself in the reaction is how I felt. Let's just say it like that. Like that's how I felt. And I didn't even know why. I mean, I knew like why you freaked out, but now I know because of the Twitter thing that was one of the guesses that's even more of why you were like, wait a second, why? Like, and your brothers are like freaking out.
Oh, dude, no, that's one of the factors. Like so many things. Not only was I so happy that everything did turn out the way that I actually anticipated it to be, but it was better than that. But also I was thinking about all the iterations of Batman, Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, Christian Bale, Kevin Conroy, Adam West. I thought about all those Batmen as I was watching the trailer, and I'm thinking to myself, this is so different, but it still feels like Batman to the core. If anything, it feels like the epitome of Batman, like a love letter to those. So when he said I'm Vengeance, not only is that respectful just to the character itself, it was so badass. It was badass, man. Like, I'm Vengeance. Like, he is the living embodiment of rage and somebody who is going to make sure to,
keep people in check.
Put people in check and avenge his parents. It was so freaking sick. And I'm not even talking about the fighting style yet. That's when I really lost it too, is when he started fighting. Because that to me answered everybody's concerns. Is he going to be able to fight? Robert Pattinson's too skinny. Why isn't he working out? Nah. Check this out.
The still shot of it, too, shows me that it ain't going to be no Nolan shaky cam. No offense to Nolan. But Batman Begins, I literally hated the fighting in that because it was so flappy and just like multi... Now, for that time, for 2005, that was like, okay, that's pretty crazy because they wanted to keep it like that. He's this scary almost entity, just kind of like how they did with when they show Ben Affleck's Batman branding that dude, and like the cop is freaking out and everything. That's an amazing scene, by the way. That cop's freaking out because Batman is almost like a thing in there. He's like up on the wall, and he just kind of like through the ceiling and just flies away pretty much. And it just like they're kind of bringing it back to that fear aspect, which I mean is what Batman is. Yes. And I think it's also kind of bringing it back to, because even though this is Matt Reeves' Batman, I got Nolan vibes galore. Like, I got, 100%. Like, this is kind of like the Dark Knight trilogy.
100%.
And like,
and the reason why
the grinding it in real life aspect.
Yes.
Is because there's no alien, as far as we know anyway, there's not going to be Superman and all that stuff. It's just like, and even down to the suit is like a kind of a starter pack, if you could say, type of suit. Like, it's built out of just like, it looks really good. Like, I haven't seen it in the movie yet, but I already think I like it better than the Nolan suit. I don't know why. I just, something about it and the gun symbol and all that. That's crazy.
That's honestly what I was thinking as well.
It's bringing it back. It's bringing it back to the grinding it down into just like. But I think we're going to go even... The tone of the trailer, too, is even... It's like even darker almost. Just kind of like... Just... It's going to be very... All relying on atmosphere, I feel like.
Yeah.
And,
that's an amazing point. I'm really glad you brought that up, too. Just because Christopher Nolan is my favorite filmmaker. 100%.
I can tell from the Goat Movie Podcast logo, by the way. I was like... I noticed that just the other day. I'm like, wait a second. I zoomed in on it. I'm like... Freaking whatever it's called, the Nolan Company. I forgot how it's pronounced, but
they'll probably call me up one day and be like, "Yeah, you're living in a dream world, kid. Copyright strike. Here you go."
YouTube so channel taken down without even a warning.
But I just need people to know that Christopher Nolan is my favorite filmmaker, and the Dark Knight trilogy I regard it as possibly my favorite trilogy. And it's because of the way that he reinvented the character of Batman. He
Right.
really grounded him on our level, right? On our real world, and was able to make it possible for somebody to be able to do this and be heroic and become a legend in his own right. So when I watch this trailer, I'm also thinking to myself, wow, this really does feel like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. But the reason why it feels better is because it feels different psychologically. And by psychologically, I mean it does feel darker. It does feel grittier. I would say Christian Bale's Batman is like a force of nature, right? He's just like this thing, this entity, like you say.
Yeah.
But Robert Pattinson's Batman, when you see him approach that crime scene and Gordon lifts up the envelope and he's like, to the Batman. When you see him walking up to the crime scene, just the way he moves, he just feels real. Like he just feels there.
Yeah.
And if you come across him, you're going to have a really bad night and a really expensive medical bill by the end of it. And that's exactly what we saw, man. Me and my brother were screaming our heads off when we saw him fight. Because like I said, that was the missing puzzle to all our questions. Can he fight? And absolutely he can fight. Actually, the best that we've ever seen a live-action Batman
I
fight.
hope there's a lot of scenes of just, like, still shots. Like, it literally...
Oh, me too,
like,
man.
the still
Me too.
shot of the fighting, if you're going to have that in the trailer, then hopefully you're trying to give off, like, this is what my fighting, like, the combat in the film is going to be like, because it's like John Wick, where it's like,
Oh,
you
100%.
see everything happening. No more shaky cam. I think we got over that kind of filmmaking, and like we kind of been getting back to these action movies that have like these still frame action. Just is like it gets you more into it, because you like in the John Wick movies, it's like you feel every hit, like you like
100%.
that kind of like vibe. And let me just put it like this is just my opinion though, like the Nolan trilogy fighting, it's good. The movies are good for different reasons, but that's not one of his strong points, in my opinion. Like, there are moments like The Dark Knight at the beginning with the imposters and all that, Batman, it's actually Batman coming in, and the I'm not wearing hockey pads, like that, yeah, like that. That whole thing, he comes in punching dudes. It's cool, but I really want to get to, like, the brutality of, like, if Pattinson's Batman, like, I'm hoping we see scenes that are, like, straight out of the Arkham games, like just like where you can hear the crunching, you can see the punches, you can see like the broken legs and stuff like that, and just really just hit it in that way, I think would be amazing. And just like if you're gonna go with the detective, then also give us that like fighting style that's and real quick, I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit, and this might be something that you have thought of, but this is why I texted you on Twitter about, hey, do you guys really think that that's the Riddler's voice at the end? I think that's what I said, right? Or like you guys said in your podcast, I think that you guys think it's the Riddler's voice at the end.
Yes, we definitely do think it's the Riddler.
I think it's Alfred.
You do think it's Alfred,
and I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, or I'm not like 100%. It could be either one. Like, that actually does sound like the same voice we hear over like the blind eye and all that, that whole dialogue. It sounds like it, but there's something about it to me that sounds like Andy Serkis. I don't know. It really does. I listened back through it a couple times, and I'm not saying this Alfred is going to like know something he doesn't, or anything like that, because he says, you're a part of this too. Why, how am I a part of it? And then that part's obviously Batman, and it's like, you'll see. I don't know. The you'll see part really, it made me think of Caesar. Like, it really did. So I'm like, wait a second. Is that
Together
Alfred?
strong, Batman.
No, or go, or whatever. Which, by the way, real quick, Matt Reeves, applause. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was my favorite movie of 2014. Straight up.
Oof.
And I'm a huge Godzilla fan. Godzilla came out that year as well. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is just a better movie overall. I was more hyped about Godzilla, but as a film separated from my nostalgic love, then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was Like, I like War, but Dawn out of that trilogy, the best. And yeah, Andy Serkis' performance as Caesar. I can go on and I can go on about that for like 5 hours.
I'm glad that you mentioned that though, because I haven't thought of it. Just because I've watched that trailer so many times, and to me, it sounds like the Riddler. Just because it sounds like it's coming out of a voice modulator. And I hear more Paul Dano in it than I do Andy Serkis.
I can see that.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, and it's really awesome that you pointed that out, because for the first time, you've actually made me think about something that
I told you I'd pick your brain. I told you. I was like, I knew that maybe he hasn't thought of that. Maybe he hadn't thought of it. But then I was thinking, but it's Angel. He's probably thought of all of it. So just like, so maybe
no, I
he
wish,
did.
man.
I don't know.
That's why I like connecting with people like you, because you guys bring insight that just it makes my excitement for the movie elevated to a whole nother level.
And that's what movies are, man. We can disagree on things and still get along. Everyone out there that fights about this stuff, it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's okay. Like, it's all
100%.
Film is subjective, man. And it's just about how you individually take it in, and it's not always, but some people's opinions are just dumb, and yours isn't. So, so I mean, we've all had stories of people that you're just like, what? What? I remember back in the day. This guy's never gonna hear this podcast probably, but Harley. I remember talking to him in school. I think we talked about it in middle school. He literally said, like, "Man, I want to see like a Spider-Man movie where like they just mix in like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man with like another Spider-Man, like just make them all like come through portals or something." And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, that could actually happen now. Like, he literally almost predicted something that, we've seen fan art of like Tom Holland standing with I'm going blank, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Yeah, I was like, I don't know why I was blanking on all of them, but yeah, like, and yeah, like that. So back then, for me, that was like an opinion that's like, okay, like I just was like, that's kind of dumb. But then now it's like, that could actually happen, and in a way, through Into the Spider-Verse, it sort of happened, just in an animated sort of way. But yeah. I kind of went down a rabbit hole, but
no, that's fine. I love that. I'm the biggest Spider-Man fan. I think that you'll encounter. He's literally, I literally model my life after his values, man. Seriously, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is what got me into loving movies. Like, that's when I knew, oh, I love movies, like 100%. And Tobey Maguire will always be Spider-Man to me. And I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield, I wish we could have seen more of him.
I know, right?
So it's funny that you say that he actually predicted basically Spider-Verse, or something that could actually happen, where Sony, if they play their cards right, they can bring, Tobey Maguire with Tom Holland. And, there's a huge possibility of that actually happening in the MCU now, with Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange 2.
God.
He can make a phone call to Tobey Maguire, and we can get Tobey Maguire in Doctor Strange 2. Who knows? In a cameo.
Yeah, because Tobey Maguire
I would literally be dead. I would literally die if I saw that.
He would literally, like, he's always wanted to do Spider-Man 4, so yeah, I have a feeling he would. And Tobey Maguire, really, and he's not doing anything. I don't even know what he's doing today, honestly.
Yeah, he's not doing a single thing. I'm telling you, you saw my trailer reaction to the Batman. If you were to see me witness Tobey Maguire with the Danny Elfman music, him entering the MCU, I would actually die that day. I think I would actually die. My gravestone would say, he just watched Doctor Strange 2. May he lay in rest. And he was happy. That's what it would say. Like, I would actually freak the hell out. But back to your point on Andy Serkis as Alfred. That was an interesting point, because it made me think, and we were speculating about this as well. Why would the Riddler say, Bruce Wayne, you're a part of this. You'll see. Is it because his family was also tied into crime? Were they also a part of the Court of Owls? So your point bringing up, what if that was Andy Serkis? Andy Serkis has played villains before. He was Claw in the MCU. He was Snoke in Star Wars. What if his Alfred, there's a twist with him. Every great mystery has a twist. What if his Alfred actually was one of the members of the Court of Owls, which is like a cult that is crime-ridden throughout Gotham? That, I think, could be very interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's literally like, it's funny how like we're picking apart this trailer and it's like, this is the teaser. Imagine
Yeah.
official or whatever, which I kind of count this as official just because it was like 2.5 minutes. So like it wasn't no just little teaser or whatever, which would have been interesting if they literally just gave us like two little like maybe slow clips or something similar to what they did with just the Batsuit reveal in the red and he's just walking up and that's all we got.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really actually I mean, I liked that, but I remember seeing the set photos of, like, I guess his stunt double or something. It may have been Pattinson, I don't know. But with, like, the suit, and I was like, I don't know what it is about this suit. I'm not about it. But then for some reason in the trailer, it's amazing. I'm like, man, that's filmmaking. When you can make things just look better in the actual movie. And you know what? This trailer is, like, the way it looks, and we think it's good the way it is. Imagine when the actual movie comes out. Like, they're going to do some tweaking. They're going to make every scene probably even more, like, crisp and clean, as you could say. And I'm excited about that. Like, I can't wait to see Angel's tweets up 30 days up to the release of the Batman. It's going to be like, Angel's going to be like...
I'm gonna be losing my mind.
30 days, 4 hours, and like he's gonna be like counting every millisecond. He's gonna be like counting down. I could see it now. But
it's a testament to how amazing that trailer turned out to be. It's better than it should have been, especially with everything going on.
I know.
And it's a really good lesson to learn. A lot of people who are criticizing the set photos, I always urge people, wait until you actually see it in motion.
Yeah, you know,
because those set photos don't have Greg Fraser behind the lens. Those set photos don't have the actual, like set design that they're going for. They don't have Matt Reeves directing the angles that he wants and stuff like that. So always wait to see it in motion. We saw it in motion, and we see him move, the way that he moves, and everything just works out. And then we actually get a character, a full-fledged character, with a cinematic taste on it, right? Because those set photos are just behind-the-scenes photos. They look like crap. You watch the trailer, whoa, this is exactly what we're getting. And I love what you mentioned about him fighting in like that style of John Wick. Shaky cam can work, especially if you watch
used
a film.
right, yeah.
Yeah, if used right. If you watch a film like United 93, the film about them thwarting one of the planes hitting the Pentagon. If you watch that film, the way that the shaky cam is used is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And tries to make you feel uncomfortable because it's such a horrible situation. And bless the people who were part of that because they're heroes.
I literally been going down a 9/11 rabbit hole lately with YouTube. Like every time September 11th comes around, I watch a video about it, and then another video suggested because hey, that's YouTube. And so I just watch and watch and watch.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't seen that film, for those of you who haven't watched it, watch United 93. It is.
I have, but it's been a long time. I might need to revisit it. I need to revisit the Nicolas Cage World Trade Center movie as well because that one's pretty.
Dude, I love that film.
Crazy good.
I love that film. Nicolas Cage is wonderful in it. Michael Pena is remarkable. That is a great, gripping 9/11 story that it will tug at your heartstrings, and it will remind you of the good that came out of that day, which I believe is the sole purpose of movies, is to be able to highlight things that happen in reality and hopefully allow us to walk away from it with such a rewarding feeling, a feeling of like being rejuvenated. That's what I love about movies.
Because people that look at the Joker film that just came out with Joaquin Phoenix, there are people out there that are literally like, I hated that movie because of it's so negative in tone and boring, and I'm like, I'm not saying this to them, but what I'm thinking is, then you don't understand filmmaking. Like you don't understand slow build-up. Showing a person that is going through stuff that actual people deal with. Mental illness is a real thing. Me and Dustin like to talk about it on the podcast just to like let people know, hey, you're not alone and stuff like that. And like just, because you never know how something you say can affect somebody. You can literally tell someone to have a good day and it might change their whole world. Like because things just stick in your brain. We're people and we're very complex, and like the way we think, and like someone saying something to you, rather negative or positive, can affect your day differently. I mean, you and me know because we're YouTubers in a sense. So like negative comments and everything, even though sometimes we try to brush it off, it might be like, that's kind of annoying. That's kind of annoying that was said to me.
That's annoying that was said to me.
Like, I'm just annoyed that was said to me. And then I go vent to my friend about it or something. But I'll never come out on YouTube and talk about it because I know so many food reviewers that are revolved around drama, and I'm just like, I'm not about it. Like, got to stick to that, like, positive, like, you know, I have humor here and there. I'll, like, leave little things in my videos, like, just, like, little hints that's to that comment. But I'm not going to directly say, hey, you person, and name them. Back to what I was saying. But yeah, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, like, just the slowness of that movie, the build-up, like, it's like people don't understand then, like, boring. What are you talking about? I was glued to every frame because of the performance from Joaquin Phoenix and just, like, it's literally slow, like, he's already messed up. But then he descends further into just, like, even worse. But that's Joker, so what were people expecting? Like, I understand. I walked out of the movies watching that movie, and I understand some people being kind of like, I hate this because maybe they went through something similar, or a family member or something like that, or someone that they know is in the psych ward or something. Like, I understand if, like, you have a situation like that where it affects you emotionally. Right. And maybe you don't like the film because of that. But I always try to tell people, like, just appreciate just what it is. I don't know. I could go on about that too, but that movie is insanely good, but because it's so negative, if that makes sense. It's like because it makes complete sense. Because it's so dark, it makes it good. And obviously it's one of those movies that you're like, well, time to go watch something funny now, like, you know, because you kind of have to shake it off a little bit. But because it is not a happy movie, but for Joker's perspective, and I'm not really going to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but let's just say by the end he's basically free. Like, he kind of freed himself of his, just like, he knows what he has to become to just even survive. And that's Joker.
He found his calling. He found his purpose, right? Is that not what we all want to find, our purpose?
I know, right?
Whether you are a good person or a bad person, we all are trying to find our purpose in life. What is the meaning of life? And for Arthur, it was to be seen by others, right? Which is toxic in its own right. And that's exactly what Joker needs to be. I saw the same film as you, Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Todd Phillips. I'm telling you right now, that film was a masterpiece in every sense of the word.
And that soundtrack, was so glorious.
I was blown away by it. Me, my co-host, my brother, the love of my life, we were blown away by it, like, wholeheartedly. And it's because of how traumatic it was and how dark it was. And especially during the time that it came out of. Remember, sometimes films can be classics because of the time that they come out of. Let me give you an example. Martin Scorsese's short film, which I believe is just called Shaving. It's about his character that just shaves his beard, which I know is Beard Bro's show worst nightmare. But it's about this character. He shaves and he's bleeding, right? He's bleeding to death as he's shaving. It's like 2 minutes of just that imagery. A lot of people come away from that short film and they go, what was this about? A lot of people really didn't know. So some of the audiences who watched Scorsese's short film said, this is a bad short film. But when you understand the context and the time period that short film came out, it was right after Vietnam. And it was right after the draft. So Scorsese was very against Vietnam and basically shunned everything that we did during that time period and the lives that we lost. So that person in that short film represented the death of innocent lives on our side and that side of the Vietnam War. Same thing goes for Joker. Joker, when it was released, man, we were dealing with so many shootings in our country. That
Yeah, I remember thinking that.
the idea of gun violence was rampant in our country. Why do people go to that end? And Joker, I believe, had an answer for that. It's because of the lack of empathy from everybody. If we are much kinder to each other, then we have a lot of opportunities to prevent horrific tragedies from happening. And that all comes from connection. And that's why I love Joker so much, because Arthur, at the very end, when he's saying his monologue, he says, a lot of you would see me and step over me and treat me like garbage and still keep kicking me as I'm on the floor. A lot of people are like that. And it's a problem with not just the Joker, but society itself. And I love that it raised awareness for that, because Joker actually encourages empathy, kindness, love, laughing with people, not at people.
Right.
Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And it speaks, there's so many things to it, and there's so many layers. And after, and I've seen it, like, I own it now on Bluray. I think I've watched it at home maybe twice. So maybe I've seen it like 3 or 4 times. But every time I see it, it's just kind of like this. Like, I loved it in theaters, but there's so much to appreciate. And that, like, I think it's a violin with the soundtrack that's doing that, like, that music. But, like, that is just perfect score. Like, I've listened to the Joker score so many times. It's so good.
It's beautifully haunting. There's
yes.
not many scenes where I watch a scene and I'm like, whoa, I am watching a masterpiece. That's exactly what that bathroom scene was. After he killed and he goes in that bathroom and he dances, I'm like, he has gone full insane. This is affecting me on an emotional level that not many other films do that are crafted like this. This is a masterpiece that I'm watching.
And who would have thought from the Hangover guy?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what?
But the Hangover movies are good.
Like,
that's the thing. Is they're actually
crazy.
Good.
But I just wanted to say to the shaky camera thing just before it leaves my mind. Yes, United 93 uses it great, but also Jason Bourne. The Bourne franchises uses shaky camera very
those
effectively.
Movies are great.
Yeah, those movies are actually absolutely exceptional. The way that Christopher Nolan used the camera for his like choreography for the Batman, I still thought it was exhilarating, especially the hostage scene.
Yeah, they
at the
got
very
better,
end.
but Batman Begins, I was just like, eh.
But I definitely thought they were exceptional in The Dark Knight, but also the choreography fighting in the Batman trailer reminded me of the Raid Redemption films. I don't know if you haven't seen those, but
they're on my list. I've been meaning to watch them. I hear a lot about them, and I heard you guys mention them in your kind of when y'all were talking about different movies near the end. I have heard about that, and I'm a sucker for like foreign, like like Ip Man, those movies.
Yes.
Amazing films.
I love Ip Man. The Ip Man trilogy is awesome.
A good example of like showing fighting, like actually showing what it is, and you feel all the hits and stuff. The same kind of thing. But I've heard the Raid Redemption is that kind of aspect, and I think one of you guys, that it may have been you, said like best fighting in a movie of all time you've ever seen. So like. There's a lot of people saying the Raid Redemption and pointing to it, so I need to get around to seeing it.
No, it literally is. Like, I promise you, it literally is. I've seen so many action films. I've seen all kinds of choreography. I guarantee you,
and the
fighting style. Too. Oh yeah, Ong Bak, that hard hitting style is absolutely outstanding.
The freaking elbows and the knees and all that is like, hey, why are you not breaking your knees right now? Like,
I promise you, that kind of fighting style reaches or matches with a storyline that's absolutely fascinating with the Raid Redemption. I promise you, it will be one of your favorite action films that you watch. It is
sounds awesome.
Awesome.
Before we move on to you wanted to ask me some questions about Dune, but I want to get your quick. I mean, it doesn't have to be quick. We can go as long as we want. I don't care. It depends on how good the conversation is, and it's great. So, what was your reaction when it came out? I don't know. Well, I figure you're around my age. Actually, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Oh, man, I'm 28, so that's okay. Well, you were younger, but you were old enough to, see it in theaters and all that. I don't know how long you've been watching movies in theaters, but my mom tells me that Lion King was like the first one, but I don't remember seeing that in theaters, so I don't really count it. But anyway, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, just like what were your? I don't even know your opinion at all on those movies. Just like, what was your general reaction to those movies? Because I showed my buddy Thomas, who I work with. We've been
Mhm.
kind of watching like the DC movies, like the DCEU universe movies. Like we just watched Wonder Woman. We're about to watch Aquaman soon. Well, actually, I guess Justice League is next. Because he actually is interested enough to see the Whedon version before we watch the Snyder cut when it comes out.
Right.
But he's never seen any of those, so I'm like, well, here you go. And he's a superhero guy, so we just watched Batman v Superman last night, the ultimate cut, 3 hours. Yes, we did. That movie, by the way, just Batman v Superman does not get enough credit, but also Man of Steel does not get enough credit at all because I think it's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Man of Steel, like it's like I grew up on the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and those were
Right.
like amazing and like 1 and 2, in my opinion, maybe when I was a kid, like masterpieces, man, they're masterpieces. And maybe nowadays I could probably see some more flaws and stuff like that. And Spider-Man 3 is just why? Why was Topher Grace Eddie Brock? Okay, just why? But I loved it as a kid because it's Venom in a movie. That's how I looked at things back then. It's my character. It's a character in a movie. Like But now I'm like, ugh. Anyway, what was your reaction to those movies? Like when Man of Steel and BVS, like what
So I love Superman. I love Batman. They're my top 3 superheroes of all time. Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman.
Man of Steel
Those are-
turned me around to Superman. I'm one of those guys where it's like,
Wow. So
I
it really
didn't
had that
really-
effect on you where you're like, I'm a Superman.
yeah, I Henry
guy now.
Cavill, I just loved him that much, and the direction, Zack Snyder's cinematography and everything, like he's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, I had been waiting for a new Superman film ever since Superman Returns had finished, and basically they were saying we're going to move on with the character now with a new filmmaker, a new vision, a new iteration. For me, I think Superman the movie 1978 with Christopher Reeves is one of the best superhero films of all time. I think it's timeless. I saw it recently again in theaters. I believe it was last year or 2 years ago for the 40th anniversary. And seeing it on screen was absolutely magical. I love what that movie represents. The embodiment of justice, truth, hope. Christopher Reeves is just somebody who personifies friendship for me. And that to me is what the character presents. That's what Superman means to me. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of all time. But I
Same.
love Superman. I love Superman so much that I always catch myself saying, actually, Superman is the guy. He's the one. He really is the one. He is the superhero that we all strive to be in real life.
Everybody gives them crap because it's like, oh yeah, but
So when I heard back in probably it was 2010, 11, or 12, because I know Man of Steel came out in 2013. When I heard back then that they were getting the director of Watchmen, one of my favorite comic book films
the
of all
visuals
time.
of 300.
We're getting the director of Watchmen, 300, Dawn of the Dead. Oh, one of my favorite zombie films of all time. Amazing. I love Zack Snyder. We're going to get the composer of Inception, The Dark Knight, Interstellar. For a Superman film? Whoa. If somebody's going to try to be on the same level as John Williams, Hans Zimmer's the guy.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Man of Steel for a very long time was one of my most anticipated films ever made. I went to see the trailer itself for Man of Steel at the premiere of The Dark Knight Rises when I went to go see it with my best friends and my brother. And look, if you got a glimpse of what I look like for the Batman trailer with Matt Reeves, imagine that, but actually like me crying watching the Man of Steel trailer. I mean, I know you probably remember when you first saw the Man of Steel trailer.
Isn't it the one where like it builds up to the flying scene, like where it's like
Yeah,
a fist on the ground, the rocks
yeah.
start to move, and yeah, that trailer
Yep.
is fantastic. That's one of the best ever.
It's one of the best trailers ever made. It has Lord of the Rings music, and I honestly, it is one of the happiest memories I have in my life is watching that trailer on the big screen with a crowd that was excited for Christopher Nolan's conclusion to his greatest trilogy. It was something else. It was an out-of-body experience. So me, as the biggest Superman fan, super excited. I saw the film, and honestly, coming out of it, there were always issues in Man of Steel for me that I still struggle with today. But now, moving fast forward, I own it on Blu-ray. I have it on Steelbook. My appreciation for Man of Steel has grown exponentially. I think these are the things you cannot take away from the movie. Henry Cavill is Superman. You cannot take that away from him. He has so much potential to give us the greatest superhero of all time. He is wonderful in it. Hans Zimmer's score. Man of Steel has one of my favorite soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like, it's one of those where you just throw it on and you just like I wish I could just wake up in the day and as soon as my eyes open, somehow Man of Steel score just dun dun, like that freaking that ambient, like huge, like it's so loud and it's perfect that way. It's
exactly.
Watching it the other day with my buddy, like he's not really a Superman fan either, but he loved the movie just because it's like, you know, and there's a whole conversation and a whole other episode of the podcast to even go into like how music really just elevates movies. Like without the music, like what would a movie even really be sometimes? And like, the Hans Zimmer score, like that's probably top 3 for me as like scores that he's ever made. Like I know he's made Inception, I know he made Dark Knight, but like Man of Steel is something really special. And it, like the music, feels Superman-y. Like it's like the music feels heroic in a way. It's really weird, like, but it just gives off this vibe that other movies he's done, like the sound doesn't in the way it's done.
It feels so hopeful, and it's just a testament to what a great composer he is as well. We all know the John Williams music, which to me, I still think of it as the definitive Superman music. The other day, I was actually testing this out. My mom is not into movies at all. I don't think she's ever sat through one whole movie in her whole life, which makes me sad because I would love to watch movies.
It's sad. We all have.
I would love to
like
watch
that.
movies with my mom. There are some movies that I've watched with her that I've showed her, and she was like, "That was incredible." I'll give you an example. American History X with Edward Norton. I actually got her to sit down and watch that, and she was floored by it, as she should be, because it's just an incredible picture. Anyways, she doesn't really know the music to Superman. Not John Williams, not Hans Zimmer. So I played Hans Zimmer first for her, because me and my brother, he thought people think of Hans Zimmer's as the Superman theme before John Williams, and I was like, I don't really think so, but let's test it out. We tested it out. She heard Hans Zimmer's music, and she was like, "This is great. This is amazing." The second I played John Williams, she goes, "This is Superman. This is Superman." So for Hans Zimmer to be able to create a soundtrack that is on that level is a feat in itself. So that's one thing you cannot take away from Man of Steel as well. The the music. Also, the cinematography is outstanding. So you have Henry Cavill Superman, outstanding. The music, remarkable. The cinematography, absolutely ridiculous. I find it to be extremely rewatchable as well, and I just love seeing Superman do Superman things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, right. We hadn't seen like Superman, the action of Superman, and like gods versus gods kind of thing in a new movie. Like yet, we hadn't seen like actual Superman stuff yet like that, and it really did what it was supposed to do.
We hadn't seen it updated. We saw, Superman 2 when he fights Zod, we saw that, but this was an opportunity to update the visuals, right? To give us a modern telling of the Superman. But where my problems come for Man of Steel are actually thematically and some choices that Zack Snyder decided to make. One of my main issues is the way that Father Kent dies, Jonathan Kent. For me, that to me was an off-putting moment, just because I feel like Superman making the choice to respect his father's wishes and to let him die from a tornado, from a natural disaster, which Superman can actually prevent, that to me was just off-putting because I feel like Superman as a character is somebody who wants to maximize his ability to save as many lives as he can. And because of his father's stubbornness, he allowed that to influence his decision. So that moment when Kevin Costner, who is an amazing actor, raises his hand and says, "Do not save me," it just didn't sit right well with
it's
me
really
for the whole
odd
movie.
because one thing that I told Thomas whenever Thomas, he's just a general film guy. He's not like, he's not gonna break it down like me and you would, but he is. I don't. When I say he is intelligent enough, like that sounds so mean, but like he's film intelligent enough, I guess, to like go into certain things. He just, I don't know. He doesn't like word it, I guess, like me and you do. But even he, I think, had like an eye rolling moment with that when we saw it, because he was just like, really, like, and seeing it. I've seen Man of Steel so many times. However many times this was, I kind of like. It's funny that you're bringing that up as your negative, because it is kind of a negative for me. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it happens in the movie. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, move on or whatever. It is a sad moment, of course.
Yeah.
Because they could have still did like him dying in the movie and like just do it in a more, just a better way, and it would have been fine. But it is kind of strange how like he raises his hand, he says, "Don't save me." And it's kind of like, but why? It's not like Superman at that point. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, because they never had any flashbacks of him trying to fly yet. And I don't think that he learned how to truly fly until he put on the suit, right? In that movie?
Yeah, he didn't. That was his first flight.
So
That's
back
why they call it
then,
first
he didn't
flight.
know how to. So basically, back then, he didn't know how to fly yet. So it's not like he's gonna fly over there and then he's exposed to this small town of people. That's like it just kind of threw me off. Like where it's like Clark had plenty of time to go over there, pick up his dad, and run the other way. And like Clark is a big enough dude where I think to those small town people, it would have been believable enough to like say that Clark could pick his dad up and save his life. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of like it was a weird like it is, I guess now that I think about it, yeah, it's probably a negative for me too, just because like it didn't make sense in the writing, I guess. Just because it would have been easy to save him, but you didn't have to use any superpowers to do it. I mean, maybe running over there pretty quick, I don't know how many people would have questioned it, but he didn't know how to fly yet. It's not like, it almost felt like the dad was like, "Don't fly over here and pick me up and save me." It's like, well, he hadn't flown yet, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, and that's not something that was like, well, he should have done this, so I don't like it. It's not that at all. It's the fact that, okay, they went with this creative choice. Now, how am I going to respond to it thematically? It really, a decision like that really is an enormous factor to a character. Right? So, okay, Superman does not save his father. His father tells him not to do it. So he doesn't. But to me, I'm thinking to myself, but wait a minute. Superman is absolutely invincible and has so much willpower that even if somebody tells me, "Don't save me," there's no way that Clark Kent is going to not utilize his gift and let alone not save his own father. So that, to me, that moment really was like a, ooh.
And I think they play it into the story,
I don't know how to feel
though.
about this.
And just in my opinion, I think they kind of play it into the story, though, that he regrets it. Like, obviously. Like, he obviously regrets it. And and so that was kind of like a story device where, like, they were like, okay, let's make Clark reflect on it and have a flashback scene with Lois and, like, and reflect on, okay, I let my dad die. But I don't know. I feel like maybe that was just one of those things in the writing where they had all this other stuff to cover. So they're like, okay, how's the dad going to die? Tornado comes and he doesn't save him because he puts his hand up. Like, we'll just call it that. Like, I don't know. It just felt very like, it was just slapped in. It was just thrown in there.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Superman is a character where those kind of things, those kind of monumental moments in his actual origin should not be just slapped in. And that's kind of how it felt. the way that Jonathan Kent dies is from a heart attack, right? So how does Superman stop that? Well, he can't. He cannot. And therefore, when his father dies from a heart attack, in every iteration that we've seen, that to me is more compelling, because it tells me that Superman is not all powerful. And therefore, he is more relatable, because we as humans cannot prevent people from dying from a heart attack if they're like having a severe heart attack. It's like their third one or fourth. We can't stop that. It's an inevitable disease that takes people's lives. And Superman learns that. He learns, okay, I can't stop that from happening. I feel horrible over my father's death. I feel powerless. But you know what? I'm going to bounce back from this, and I'm going to use what I can, what is available to me with my bare hands, to save as many people as I can. That to me is the essence of Superman, the core of why that character works so much, and why we all try to strive to be him, because we all, with our limitations, try to surpass expectations and save other people's lives. If that means kindness, then we'll do it that way. So I'm thinking about that during that moment too as well, and I'm like, okay, this feels less compelling than, his father dying the way that it usually is. This creative choice just was off-putting for me, because honestly, Jonathan Kent was like, no, you stay here, Clark, I'll do it. When, come on, man, your son is basically a god. He could have went to get the dog,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's always an animal involved to tug at our hearts, because when that dog is barking and it's like backing into the truck and won't come out, I'm like, no! Like, I literally am getting sadder about the idea of the dog getting swiped up than freaking his dad. I'm telling you, man, like, animals in movies, like, it gets me. Like, it gets me so bad.
Yeah, trust me, man. And there's also, like, other moments, too, like, sprinkled throughout Man of Steel, where I'm like, oh, okay, this I felt weird about. Like, even we're talking about the color grading. A lot of people will criticize Man of Steel and say, "Oh, it's gray. It's not."
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty.
Like, it's not colorful.
Down and dirty
that's
looking.
That's not my critique of it. My critique of it is the cinematography was chosen to be bleak. It was chosen to be desaturated. Yes, there are colors. There's oranges. There's greens. There's yellow. Especially like that sun shot when he's raising his hand and getting rejuvenated by it, which is freaking phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
But the color grading itself, for me, because it was desaturated, that to me really gave off the atmosphere of hopelessness, if that makes sense. And when we're seeing the color grading along with all the destruction, it just felt really bleak.
It's a Zack Snyder thing at this point.
Yeah.
I've noticed that all of his films kind of have that grainy, like, just kind of, yeah.
And I like the grain. I like the grain. It's the choice of the desaturated colors for Superman. I don't think it works as well as something that needs to be saturated and bright, and something that reflects his personality. Because Clark Kent is somebody that's supposed to be the best of us, even if he's dealing with turmoil. So Man of Steel, I like the vision for it, right? I like this idea of, okay, what if he is an alien, and what if everyone treats him like crap? I like that. Okay, he's somebody that is isolated. He's somebody that is kind of like an immigrant. He's somebody that doesn't really know where he fits in. Super relatable. Awesome story. But my issue lies in with how he handles that. Henry Cavill's Clark Kent feels very filled with self-doubt. He feels very negative. And he feels like he's not sure of himself. And that to me doesn't really speak Superman to me. That to me speaks kind of Bruce Wayne-ish to me. Somebody who's just troubled and lost and conflicted. One of the lines in BVS, Superman literally says to Lois, no one stays good in this world. He literally says that. No one stays good in this world. And so for that portrayal to be so bleak, it was off-putting once again. But I'm telling you, the scenes that worked, I absolutely love, and I rewatch Man of Steel more than I do other comic book movies. Why? Because of the things that do work. For example, when he's taking out the gravitational force device from Zod, when he takes that out, that's actually one of my favorite moments in comic book history. When he's going against gravity, because he's using his entire power to go against this unstoppable force. It gives me goosebumps every single time. And for a moment, he looks like Christopher Reeves, which just blows my mind.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. This is, yeah, you're making a lot of good points. The only reason that I've always, like, I've heard a lot of other people say basically everything you just said. It's like it's not truly Superman though, and I get that, but I've always kind of like thought of Man of Steel as like, okay, it's Superman though learning to become Superman in a sense.
Right.
Like the whole story is that. So him figuring it out and him figuring out what kind of mindset he needs to be in to be this hero for everyone is what I always thought was beautiful about Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, because he still is like super down, super like whatever, because it's Superman, but if, let's just say you're Superman, like, and you're Superman, you fell from the sky when you were a kid, yada yada, and people are aware of you and what you can do. Imagine that weight on your shoulders. Imagine, like, all of that just coming down on you, and then you got, you know, NBVS, he's trying to figure out the whole Batman thing, this Bat Vigilante, all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of, like, I think Zack Snyder just did something really special with it, in my opinion, where, like, it just grounded Superman in our world. Like, it wasn't like comic book, like, I am here to save the day. Like, it was, you know, it wasn't like, he wasn't super like, well, super no pun intended, but he wasn't just super like, yeah, I mean, and I've seen some of the animated stuff with Superman, and like, there is a difference. He's a lot more positive about stuff, and I just feel like, yeah, if Zack Snyder would have went a little bit of a different route, it might have been really interesting to see, but I just feel like it's just Superman in our world, and that's the entire movie of Batman v Superman, in my opinion. People are like, that fight lasted 20 minutes. I'm like, it's not the fight. It's not about the fight. It's their views on things kind of clashing. It's like Superman's trying to figure Batman out. Batman's literally trying to stop him. He's like, I'm going to be the man, like a man, like, you are not a god, you're not even a man, like all those lines. Like, he is like literally bringing Superman down physically and just like emotionally. Like, he's just like, no, you're not gonna, like, because you could kill everyone if you wanted to, and you don't have the right to get to choose that. And that's kind of the whole thing. That's why, even after watching the 3-hour cut of BVS again last night, I realized, man, I just love so many aspects about this movie, and I look at it and I'm like, and, you know, there's a whole conversation to be said about Batman killing people, but I love it for just kind of grounding it in reality, even though it is about an alien, about this mentally ill bat guy, and, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, if they would have went the more traditional story, comic book driven, stuff like that, that's how I've always looked at Man of Steel and BVS, is like, yeah, Superman's not super chipper and everything, just because he's like got all these deaths and stuff on his shoulders, and like, people give crap to like Man of Steel, the end fight, or how much he destroys, and he doesn't try to lead Zod away and like try to, like, instead of destroying all these buildings, it's like, well, he's just figuring out his powers, bro. He's just like, he's kind of just caught up in the moment, and yeah, in the writing, it's obviously for an epic scene of Zod and Superman going at it, buildings coming down, and people forget that Batman v Superman, literally the beginning of the movie, is the end of Man of Steel, and it's talking about that. The movie talks about, like, politically, how people would look at Superman, this guy that could destroy the world if he wanted to, bringing these buildings down, needing to be accountable for his actions, and like, that's just something about Zack Snyder's version of all of this that I've always really respected. That other people are like, nah, like, I don't know, and I understand other people's opinions, but I'm kind of like, I'm on your side with it, but I'm also got like my own version of it in a way where, like, I would have liked to see what you would have liked, but also really, I kind of understand it. I kind of understand what he's going for.
And I totally love that. I love that it resonates with you in the way that it just affected you. You know, you saw it, and you can't argue against how awesome it was to you. You know, it emotionally affected you, where you were like, "Wow, this is Superman here, and he's inspiring me." Right? I can't take that away from you. And I love what you said. That you're right. If you look at Man of Steel, if you take a step back, this is somebody who is learning to be Superman. Hence why it's called Man of Steel, right? Because he's learning to be Superman. He's learning to juggle everything. The world is too big, Mom. You know, and she says, make it small. He's trying to figure this all out. And at the very end, we finally hear Lois say, you know, welcome to the planet. And you see him fully become Clark Kent and Superman. But the thing is, I feel like Superman as a character is somebody who should already know to be Superman at a very young age. That's what I think the significance of his youth years are as a teenager, is figuring it out during that time, not as a full grown man and stuff like that. Especially because I'm a huge fan of the animated series. I love Smallville. So Smallville, Tom Welling is Superman 2 to me. You know, Christopher Reeves is Superman. That's just kind of just who that character is. He just knows how to respond to things, even tragedy. He is not dealing with inner conflict that makes him kind of give up, you know. And I feel I just get that sometimes from Henry Cavill's Superman, which is why I'm looking forward to more from him, because they're getting there for me. And me and you are both going to have a Superman where we're like, yes, this is something we wholeheartedly love completely. I think Henry Cavill will get there for me 100%. But you're saying it's
I hope he actually does pop up in Shazam too. I
hope so too.
I really hope he's actually there.
But to your point where you say, you know, Zack Snyder gave us a grounded take on Superman. He's not super cheery or you know, just, I guess, cheerful. The thing is, a little bit
far away from cheesy, I guess is the way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, when it comes to Superman, the idea of him is, it would be nice to have someone like him in our world. And I'll give you an example of where we've seen that, and it's worked. Like Shazam. Shazam, I thought, was amazing. I loved Shazam. Is it my favorite DCEU movie? No. Do I have Man of Steel over Shazam? Yes. Because the things that do work for me in Man of Steel, I have on a completely different level than Shazam. But Shazam, I thought, was really great. A really great character study on how somebody like that, who is lighthearted, can handle real stakes, you know? And that's where I think they need to take Superman, to really feel like the epitome of what I think the character is. And if what the character means to you is different, then that's awesome. That's what I think Superman is. He's representative to every single person, and that's what I love about him, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I love about the whole. I love that they made the S mean hope, because I was like, oh, it's so because it's like it is so good. It is staying away.
The suit looks amazing.
Like, yeah, it really does, and
the suit is godly. His father, Russell Crowe as Jor-El, perfect casting.
Yeah,
you know, so many things worked about it, but there are also things, if I have to be honest, that it didn't resonate with me well, and that's fine. I'm somebody who, I want to see the best possible movie when I go watch a movie. I don't want to waste my time. I root for every movie to succeed. And I'm always honest about how I feel about a movie. Man of Steel is one of those movies where there are a lot of things I love about it. But, you know, unfortunately, there are some creative decisions where I was like, okay, this wasn't for me, you know?
So I think you had some Dune questions.
Yes, Dune. What did you think about the official trailer for Dune?
Well, go watch my reaction and find it. No, I'm kidding. No, I literally reacted to that. Like, I think I got done editing some food reviews and stuff, and I was just like, this just dropped. I remember, and I said it in the reaction. I'm like, I have literally watched like a few seconds of this, and then thought, wait, why don't I just react? Why don't I just do this? No one's going to care about it. No one's going to watch this on a food review channel, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm a film fan at heart. But it's, Dune is something, like, just to clarify, never read the books, never saw that original film, never Nothing. So I'm gonna be interested to watch that movie for one before it comes out. I'm gonna do that. And but as for like the trailer, just beautiful. I don't know what's going on, but it's amazing. Like it's just that's. But I think that's what Dune is so far to me. Just what I'm getting from it is like. I mean, and I'm a sucker for sci-fi, like Alien, freaking obviously Star Wars, and like I love science fiction. I also love science fiction horror. That's why I've always said like Alien is my favorite horror film of all time. People are like, but wait, that's not. I'm like, I know it's sci-fi horror, but it's still technically a scary movie. Like
Love Alien.
it's terrifying. I with horror movies, it's always science fiction for me where I gravitate, and Dune is just like it's definitely gonna be a movie that's like my friend Ryan put it good. He's like, it's just gonna be so artsy. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a really artsy, crafted film, and just from what we've seen, it looks amazing. Real quick, is Ken Watanabe in that?
No, he's not in it, but he would have been a great addition to the film.
You know, that's weird because like my buddy Ryan was like, oh, and I saw the Let Them Fight guy in it. I'm like, oh, Ken Watanabe, and now I just realized, crap, he's not in it. But there's so many freaking, I don't know who the kid is, the main character guy, but freaking Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista. I'm just like, I'm blown away by the cat. Like I didn't know. That's the thing about that trailer reaction is like I didn't know who was going to be in it. I just went into like, okay, I heard about Dune. Okay, well actually I take that back. I saw those Set Photo magazine shots of Oscar Isaac and other members, but I didn't know much about the cast until I watched that. And yeah, it looks glorious. Honestly, it's definitely like just from that trailer and not knowing anything about the universe, I'm already like, you know what? That's all I need to know. Like, even if I didn't watch the original movie and go into it at the end of the year, I'm just going to go in head first. Just like, what is Dune? Find out. And because it looks like one of those movies that's like, this is a theater film. Like, this is, which I always argue that every film pretty much is. Like, people that are like, Redbox. I'm like, you don't get it.
No, every single movie that you can think of, I promise it's better in a theater. I promise.
Yeah, even funny movies, like even comedies. Yeah. Like I'm like, I love to laugh with an audience.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that.
Dune looks, it looks like it's gonna be amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really happy to hear you say that. I'm happy to hear that you really don't really have any idea about Dune, but this trailer has piqued your interest. That to me is an indicator of a really great trailer. And that's what I mentioned in my trailer reaction is that I feel like if somebody watches it, this will get them out to the theater to go watch it. Of course, when it's safe and stuff like that. And that's what I'm hoping for. I thought this trailer was mesmerizing. I thought, I talked about it today with my co-host. I said that it was cerebral is what I thought. And that's exactly what filmmaker Denis Villeneuve brings to the table every time he directs a movie. Whether it be Prisoners or Arrival or Blade Runner 2049. He's the kind of filmmaker that his stories really, they put me in awe, man. I'm telling you, like he is such an amazing director that is going to be around for a very long time if he has the opportunity to keep making films. I think they're just going to keep astonishing us. You said you weren't aware of the main actor of this movie, Timothée Chalamet. Have you seen anything with him before?
I don't think so. I mean, I might have without being able to remember if I've seen him in other things where he's not like the main character. I don't know. I mean, no.
Well, let me tell you some movies to watch with him.
Let's go to school with Angel here.
Yeah, man. Timothée Chalamet. If you haven't seen any films with Timothée Chalamet, this guy is one of the best actors in his generation, and he's going to be around for a very long time. We're going to be talking about Timothée Chalamet in decades to come, like how we talk about Daniel Day-Lewis, like how we talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, like how we talk about, Christian Bale, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think he's that good. He is so talented. And some films that I've seen him in are like Call Me By Your Name, Beautiful Boy. If you watch those two movies, you're going to know what kind of actor this kid is. And he looks perfect as Paul Atreides in this movie. Somebody who is, trying to avenge the death of his family members over this resource. It's going to be an astonishing story of betrayal, and I just can't wait to watch it, man. It really looks awesome. So if you haven't seen those, check out Beautiful Boy and check out Call Me By Your Name. And I promise you're going to be way more excited about Dune than you previously were.
I definitely will keep them in mind. There's so many movies I've added to my list. I'm just like, I'll get around to it eventually, real life, you know? I don't know. And I'm also a gamer, so it's kind of like when I'm balancing stuff is always interesting to try to do. But, like the other day when I watched Good Time, that was actually me being like, nope, I'm going to stop everything, pull up Netflix because it's on there, because I don't know how long it'll be on there, which is always the issue. And it's like, here we go, Good Time. But, yeah, like, it definitely, Dune looks intriguing, and I don't know her name, but she was in the MCU and Spider-Man. Tom
Zendaya.
Holland. Yeah, she looks glorious as whatever character she's playing, because, like, those shots of her with the hair and everything, I'm just like, this is going to be, like, the trailer itself already gives off, like, award for cinematography. Like, it already even just the trailer, and it's not even the full-fledged movie on the big screen yet where you see everything. It's just the trailer on your TV or on your phone or whatever, and it looks fantastic.
And I'm glad you mentioned the cinematography, because it's the same cinematographer as the Batman.
Wow, okay, well then there we go. Like, that
Greg
makes
Fraser,
sense.
same cinematographer as the Batman, cinematographer of Rogue One, cinematographer of Lion. The trailer really takes you to another place. And that's exactly what movies should do as a form of escapism, right? They're supposed to take you to another place. And that's what the Dune trailer does. I've been rewatching the Batman trailer, the Dune trailer over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, as a film fan, especially during these times where we've all been kind of cooped up in our houses and we're trying to protect our loved ones, what a perfect time to get these kinds of trailers that take us to another place and remind us of the power that films hold and how they connect one of us. This conversation wouldn't have happened if it hadn't have been for the movies themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it really comes down to thank you, Matt Reeves.
If you're
awesome.
listening, which I know you're not, but if you are, like, you've seen Angel, that means you can somehow connect the dots and co-listen to this.
I'm going to tweet at you, Matt. I'm going to tweet at you.
Because you'll see it in the title with Bluray Angel, or you'll see it, maybe you'll come check it out.
Yeah, exactly, but it really goes down to that level of just connection, which is why I love movies so damn much. You know, they're just entertaining, but spiritually they're rewarding. They really allow me to connect with people, and I love that. I really feel like that's the purpose of life, is to live life, not just survive, live life and love and connect and laugh and be happy and lift one another even through tragedy. Like, that to me is what life's all about, man. Conversations like this. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate you. I really think you're awesome, and I'm really happy that we were able to connect on this stuff. You're really great, and I recommend everybody listening to this, if you haven't checked out Beard Bros Show, whether it be on YouTube or their audio files like on Spotify or any channel that you can get them, listen to their stuff. They're dedicated, they're passionate, and they know their stuff, and they love it too. And there's nothing better than to listen to people who just love doing what they're doing or love what they're talking about. So I highly urge you to do that, and just thank you for everything, man. Seriously.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, like, I didn't know, like, it's kind of like, and this is something. Actually, you know what? I'll save that for my recommendation. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna hold back. But I don't know if you know. I don't know if you've made it to the end of one of our episodes yet. But we do this little thing where we have a recommendation just to kind of like start to wrap up the episode, because we're like an hour and a half in, and we usually only go an hour. But the conversation's so great. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this be whatever. And it could be 3 hours for all I care. But also work tomorrow, so that's another thing. But so anyway, Angel, what would you say would be a recommendation? And I mean, it could be life related, just advice. You can recommend movies, certain things, or literally anything, boiling it down, not to put you on the spot. But what would be like a recommendation just for the audience in general, just to wrap up the episode?
So, thanks for asking me. I love doing this stuff. I love talking about movies. I'm telling you, I could talk with you about this all day,
I know,
but I
man.
know we're in different time zones.
Well, I
I'm
stay up
sure
late
that you have
anyway,
work
but
and stuff.
I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I'm
No, but I could do this all
kind of a
day.
night owl,
And
but
for my recommendations, I'll actually recommend some recent things that I've seen. The first one I'll recommend is a movie. So I actually do recommendations. I try to do them once a week. I try to do 4 movie recommendations, whether it be on Twitter or YouTube. One movie I always recommend is Rush, which is directed by Ron Howard. Rush is a film about Formula One racing, right? And there's not a lot of great ones. There's not a lot of great ones. But Rush by Ron Howard, I promise you, is a film that, even if you're not into cars, you're going to love this movie. You're going to love it. It is just fueled with so much adrenaline. It stars Chris Hemsworth and it stars Daniel Bruhl as James Hunt and Niki Lauda. They had a rivalry in the 1970s, and I actually had never heard about this true story. I watched the biopic, and then I learned about the true story, and it was absolutely remarkable. Not just the story itself, but the performances. Daniel Bruhl, who is from Inglourious Bastards and also from Civil War, he plays Zemo. Daniel Bruhl as Niki Lauda is actually one of the best performances I've ever seen in a biopic. It is spot on. Because there's real life interviews and footage of Niki Lauda. And Daniel Bruhl does not act like him in person. But in that film, he becomes Niki Lauda. So for those of you who have no idea what this movie's about, please watch Rush. Formula One racing, stellar performances, a great story about rivalry and friendship. I promise you're going to become a
as
car
Angel
fanatic.
adds to my big scroll of movies to check out,
Please check it out. It's by Ron Howard. He recently came in for Phil Lord and Chris Miller on Solo, and I thought he did an exceptional job on Solo. Ron Howard. He's also the director of A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe and also Cinderella Man. So Ron Howard is just... Actually, I don't know if he did Cinderella Man, but I think he did A Beautiful Mind 100%. He's just a great filmmaker, man. And Rush is one of his best.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it. Is Rush on any kind of streaming, or is it just like...
I don't know if it's on stream. I own it, so I don't usually have streaming problems.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and you're Bluray Angel, so I mean, it makes sense. But
Yeah,
but
exactly.
just to clarify with how I am with Blu-rays, I have a pretty big Blu-ray collection. It's probably not the size of yours, considering the name, but but I am the type of movie guy where I have to see it, and sometimes there's moments, because we don't have we used to have a store here in town called Entertain Mart, and it was like the last of like Blockbuster type places or whatever. Where I grew up, we had Hastings. That was my Blockbuster. I don't even think I've actually set foot in a Blockbuster video. Like I don't
Wow.
but Hastings was the same exact thing. You rent movies, games, everything, and it went under thanks to the whole new world of like streaming and everything, and just not making enough
Yeah.
money. Plus, honestly, their prices are pretty ridiculous anyway. Because
Right.
you could buy a new movie at Walmart for extremely cheaper than they were selling it at Hastings. But I have to see a movie and I guess kind of approve of it in my mind to own it. I'm not saying like there have been times where I buy a movie that I haven't seen just because it's like the last way, like I can't find it anywhere or whatever. Then I'll Amazon it or whatever. So that's kind of like that's how I am with buying movies. Is I would love to buy movies that I just like that I haven't seen, and like that would obviously get rid of that problem. Like it'd be like, okay, I own it now, so I can watch it. But you know, I don't know. It's like, what if I hate it though? I'm not saying it's not worth it, because I could. There's a whole conversation to be said about like showing other people movies that you hate because it's fun. Like Vampire's Kiss, for instance. Don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I have, and you're fired, Trav. You're fired. I'll fire you.
And which, by the way, me and my buddy Ryan watched the commentary for that movie. The best commentary I have ever seen, because before we went in, me and Ryan have discussed Vampire's Kiss over and over, just like how like he like hates it way more than me. But then because he did a movie review on his channel about it, like I watched the movie because like he's trying to say just don't even bother watching this movie, and I'm like, but you know how I am. You're gonna say you hate something so much, and that makes me even more intrigued than if you loved it. Like literally, like when people hate things, you're like, well, I'm gonna go see how trashy this is. And I didn't like Vampire's Kiss, but I appreciated what they were trying to do more back then. But in the commentary, the director and Nicolas Cage both are like, what? Like, what? Why did we do that? Like, literally, that's what made it so great. Was like, that's the best commentary, because we went into the commentary thinking, dude, this is going to be like the worst thing ever if they sit there and approve of everything they did back then, because it's like a really early, I think it was late 80s, early 90s or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, best commentary ever, just because they basically made fun of their own movie and like how much they would have done things differently. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember how I got started on that, just talking about buying movies, but
to get Rush. But I'm telling you, speaking of buying movies, that's how good Rush is, my movie recommendation. It's so good that I actually recommend, for those of you who haven't seen it, to blind buy it. That's how good it is. I guarantee that if you do buy it,
I might have to do that.
If you do blind buy it and access it, you know, of course, I know nowadays money might be tight, but that's just how good it is that you could blind buy it, own it, watch it, and I guarantee you're going to say, man, this was a damn great film.
Nice.
Seriously. No, yeah, seriously. And I also want to recommend a TV show that I saw. This one's on Netflix. It's called Unbelievable. It stars Caitlin Dever, I believe is her name. She was the star of Booksmart from Olivia Wilde, which I thought was an enjoyable comedy. Unbelievable, though, on the other hand, shows quite the range from her. It's basically about these two female detectives hunting down a serial rapist. Very interesting, very traumatic. It left me, I was moved when I watched it because I hadn't seen a show like that before. And I thought they did an exceptional job of handling that kind of story with full respect and commitment to, and also just with the responsibility to raise awareness for sexual assault. Very gripping story, and one that will not leave your mind. I definitely think it's one of the best shows that have come out in the past decade. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, like, with shows recently, I've been bouncing, like, back and forth on, like, starting a show and then going back and continuing one. Like, you know how it is whenever you get locked into a show, but then you might fall away from it for a little while just because things get busy or something. And then you kind of, like, you're like, inside you're like, I want to come back to it, but why am I not? There's something about it. It's like, it's kind of one of those things where you only really care about it when you're watching it, though. And then it kind of just leaves your mind. It's really weird how, like, certain shows and stuff can do that, because the show is so, like, it takes up so much more of your time. Like, just, like, hours and hours of just, but that's the beauty of what I think TV shows have over movies. Now, I always have preferred movies. I've always been a movie guy. So if you can, like, sell me on a story for 2 hours and, like, it be, like, better than certain shows, that's something.
Yeah. And Unbelievable is a hard watch. I just want to advise everybody. It's a very hard watch from the very first opening, scene of the show. But it has to be, because it is, telling this harsh reality that occurs, daily to women, which is just absolutely horrific. And it's just amazing that they were able to write characters that were so sophisticated and empowering. And just by the end of it, I guarantee, although you'll feel ugly through it, by the end of it, you're going to feel great. And hopefully with the mentality that this world has enough good in it to triumph the darkness.
And that should be something Robert Pattinson says at the end of the Batman, and stolen straight from Angel, or not stolen, but just give him a check, and we'll just tweet that to Matt Reeves and see if he adds it in, because hey, he only has done 25% of the movie. There's still more to fill in. Anyway,
I'm telling you, I'm making this prediction, Trav. I've said it on my podcast. I really hope Since I got I'm Vengeance right, I really hope Robert Pattinson's Batman says, "Riddle me this." I will lose my actual crap if he says
Yeah.
that, bro.
Do you think he's gonna finish the sentence on "I am vengeance"? Because that's only a clip. Like, do you think he's actually, "I am vengeance, I am the night"? Like, it sounds ridiculous when you start. And now that I think about like how ridiculous it might be, but maybe throughout the fight, maybe he fights more, and then he's like, "I am the night." And then by the end, "I am Batman," because he won. Like he just beat everyone's butt.
Oh man, I think that'd be awesome. I think
Maybe by the end, by the end we'll get the whole line.
Because that could possibly come across as cheesy for a just a gritty moment like that. So maybe it'll be sprinkled out throughout the movie. Maybe every time he encounters someone, it's like, "I'm vengeance." Someone else, "I am the night." Somebody else, "I'm justice." And then the finale would be, "I'm the goddamn Batman." That would give me chills.
It's like, okay, Walter White.
Yeah, and would actually give us insight on like, okay, this is actually a really troubled individual, somebody who just is just off the rails. He's vengeance, he's the night, he's justice, he's bad. Who the hell is this guy? I think it'll just reinforce just how just
this
off
guy's
the
crazy.
edge he is. This guy's crazy.
Yeah, freaking
exactly.
Penguin, man. And I didn't like, and not to go down another rabbit hole, but real quick. I was one of those people that watched that, didn't know it was Colin Farrell. I didn't even know that was Penguin in the shot.
Dude,
in the rain.
same. Yeah,
and
same.
then in the car either. I just saw that as like just a random thug or even like a cop or something. And then I had to look at it and it's like, oh, that's Penguin and that's Colin Farrell in there like at least twice.
Dude, he's unrecognizable. I didn't even catch it in my trailer reaction. Even when I was doing my analysis right after.
There's no way you could have got everything in that trailer reaction anyway. Because you were freaking out.
Oh, dude, I was freaking the hell out. That's why I had to do the trailer justice and do that whole 2-hour examination on it which is so funny because it was only 25% that we saw. It's a 2-minute trailer, yet we talked about it for 2 hours.
It's glorious and it's fun. And you guys went into like a lot of prediction kind of stuff, and that's what's great about movie trailers to me in general is like we can go on, and everyone's broke that trailer down and said like, oh, like those are obviously Joker thugs, and oh, the Riddler might actually be Joker. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, like that's kind of how I feel about that opinion. Is like the Riddler's just gonna be Riddler, bro. Like if they make him Joker, it's like then that just takes away from like a really great modern Riddler that we need to get finally.
Yeah. And we need that. We need to take away as much as I love Jim Carrey, we need that one off our minds. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we need a Riddler, a Riddler. We need somebody who's gonna riddle and annoy Batman and make him pissed off with these damn riddles. And who better to do that than Paul Dano? So great cast, and I loved it. And I'm telling you, when Matt Reeves shared the trailer, dude, it was so crazy because I was at work and my phone was literally blowing up, and I'm just thinking, what the hell's going on? Like I never get this many notifications. What's going on? And sure enough, I saw Matt Reeves' response, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And he put a bunch of happy faces, and I'm thinking, "Holy crap!" He saw, my video. He shared it. So nice of him. But what I'm happy about that moment of him resharing it is that he knows exactly how I felt, and I think he knows exactly how everybody felt. Because a lot of people were messaging me and saying, this is exactly how I felt. This is what I thought at 2 a.m, except I couldn't scream, because my parents were sleeping or stuff like that. Me, on the other hand, I don't care if my mom was telling us to shut up. I was watching the Batman, So,
bro,
I'm really happy that Matt knows how I feel, and hopefully he's like, okay, we got to do more of this, because I think all of our reactions have definitely influenced production when it resumes this week.
Yeah. Just imagine that if Matt Reeves himself is thinking of Angel and he's like, you know what? I want to make that guy scream again by making an official trailer too, but better. Let's make him freak out. Not even with a certain part of the trailer, but the entire trailer.
Dude, that would be so cool. Hopefully they are taking notes. My brother was like, dude, I guarantee you, if Matt Reeves saw that, he's gonna add more fight scenes just to make you freak the hell out.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, like something that I thought, like I kid you not, because I saw your reaction, and this is something I forgot to say at the beginning. I saw your reaction on Twitter from the Matt Reeves thing. I think you know how you go, like someone shares it, you might click on it, you go to the original post, and there was like the one you shared was like a certain section of the clip, and
Yes.
I legitly, and you're gonna laugh, just prepare. I legitly thought that you were outside. I like literally the background in your theater. Literally, at first glance, I thought that was other houses and trees. Like I legitly thought, and I'm not gonna say I cringed, but I kind of like, I was like, oh, I hope he's not screaming that, like just being that careless, like in a neighborhood, because like I legitly, for the first time I ever watched it, I obviously loved your reaction, and I was taken by, you know, you were like, oh, or whatever with the vengeance and the beating. Because I rewatched it earlier, too, just to kind of get me into the, like, okay, I'm going to talk to Angel today, so I need to, like, refresh myself on the trailer reaction. And so I watched your reaction again. And, yeah, for sure. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, that dude's outside in his driveway. And I feel bad for every neighbor. Like, I felt bad for every neighbor. And then I found your channel. And then that's how I subscribed and everything. And I was like, oh, because at the beginning you say we're in our theater room, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like I literally was like, thank God that you're inside, because I don't know, it's weird. Like and when I first saw it and I thought that, I'm like, but wait, that doesn't make sense. Like, how does he have this set up with the light and the like? It legitly, the background looked like houses to me. I don't know why. But
Dude, that's hysterical.
yeah, I legit was like,
Hilarious.
okay, he just woke everybody up, but it was for a great reason, no matter what. And if Matt Reeves shared it, then he approves, even if you were outside. Like, yeah, let the
that's what
world
I'm
know,
saying.
Angel. Let the world know
Dude,
that this is
that is
cool.
that is so funny. The thing is, when I uploaded that clip, usually I do that for every trailer reaction, for every video I do, for every podcast that we discuss. I post clips because I want to give people a taste of like what we do, what our insight is like, and hopefully get people more excited. Because if we get people more excited about films, it just makes film discourse much more interesting, and hopefully their experience can be the best that it possibly can be. And if that happens as a result of what we do, then we've done our job, you know, besides us loving what we do in general. People getting more excited and loving it too, and being able to speak film language like us, that's just a bonus, right? So when I posted that clip, usually I don't post the beginnings, because for that particular video, I had talked for a very long time about my anticipation for the Batman. So if I would have posted like the introduction, it would have just been me being like, you know, I love Matt Reeves, Rob Pattinson, the cinematographer. I'm excited for this. Here's why. You know, here's my previous experience of this. I'm going to watch this trailer. Boom. And it would have ended. But I had to pick a specific moment where people knew exactly how I felt, even if we lost YouTube clicks, because for me it didn't matter at that point. I wanted people to see the reaction, because that's what people look forward to in reactions, and that was my genuine reaction. Like, I don't know if you've checked out other videos and stuff like that. That's just like how I am. Like if I'm watching like a smaller picture, like an indie film, I'll give you an example, like Chloe Zhao's The Writer. Yeah, I'm gonna be that excited too, because this is cinema. I love it. It's a quieter film. It's not a comic book film. It's a very personal, character-driven movie about this cowboy who loses the ability to ride and tries to find a new purpose. The way she shoots that movie, the way she tells that story, it is exhilarating, because it's everything about cinema that I love. In the same sense of the Batman trailer. When I watched that trailer, I lost my goddamn mind, because it was perfect. And I needed to make sure that I also had enough at the very end to share a little bit of my insight, because that's what I do for my trailer reactions. I don't just watch and then, okay, I'm just uploading that. No, I try to dissect the trailer as much as I can. So I'm really glad in my analysis that hopefully Matt was able to hear how much of that I respect him as a filmmaker and what other films I love from him besides the Batman. And clearly it resonated well with a lot of people.
Yeah, and it
like
probably got
yourself,
you some
which is
subscribers too, you know? Cause
Yeah,
like, you know.
yeah, and it made
Yeah.
me really happy. Everybody's comments were super nice, and a lot of people wanted to talk the Batman and talk movies, like yourself, which I love, man, because I love it. This is why we started this in the first place, is to connect with people who aren't, you know, next door to us. It's really, really cool. And the people who were like, "This is cringe," or like, "This is like he didn't act that way," or like, "F this kid," or stuff like that. That to me is fine. Like that stuff honestly does not bother me.
Yeah, it
What
shouldn't
matters
either.
to me, what matters to me is, one, how I feel about it, which you can't take that away from me. I loved that goddamn trailer. I always will. It's one of the best trailers I've ever seen. But if I can make one person more excited about a movie, and hopefully their time will be maximized during
They'll
that
remember
experience.
that, and they'll remember you.
Yeah, that to me is like really awesome, and it just makes me appreciate the movie and the people that I'm watching the films with, because we all watch movies in theaters with strangers. It makes us become one in a way.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, man. And that's exactly what the trailer brought to us. It couldn't have been more perfect. And yeah, I just loved hearing everybody's responses too, saying that like, this is what the trailer meant to us. It's what I love about film discussion.
You think about the detail, and you think about like everything with film on a level where like, that's where my mind is. You're better at wording it. I'm just a Southern guy. so like, you know, you're way better at wording things. So yeah, man, I can't wait to like, whenever this movie comes out, we'll have to dissect it, man. Like, I know you'll probably already do this on your own podcast, but like, we'll have to dive in, because I will be very interested to see your thoughts, or hear your thoughts, I guess I should say, on the Batman.
Thanks, man. No, we'll definitely do this again. Like, we'll definitely do this again. I'm always open to this. I will. When the Batman comes out, we're gonna have to review this together as well. I definitely will have this reserved for you too, man, because I could talk about it all day. Like Cap says, I can do this all day.
Marvel, what do you know? Like,
Exactly.
My recommendation, actually, I kind of got two. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Well, and you technically had two, so I'll just do it. Guys, never be afraid to shoot messages to people that you have no idea about. Now, that sounds kind of scary. It sounds kind of like whatever. Obviously, I don't expect any of your children to go out there and do that to any stranger in person, but like, me and Angel connected on Twitter because of the Batman. I literally met this guy because of Matt Reeves, like the guy that's making the movie, shared his reaction, and I found him through that, and then subscribed to his channel, found out he had a podcast, and like, just don't be afraid to be bold like that, because I could have just like stayed quiet, like been like, that guy will never respond to me or anything like that. You like literally never know what kind of interaction you're going to have, and it made for an entire almost 2-hour episode of a podcast. So to me, that it's like what you said earlier. That's life, is like communication, talking to people, like, and just having just conversation. And even though there's even some things that we disagreed on film wise, it's still like, it means something, though. It's agree to disagree type of thing, and because then that just makes it, whenever the agreement happens and there's stuff we agree on, it makes it even better. It's like, oh, but you liked this and I liked this, you know. I think it's Alfred. He thinks it's Riddler. Like, we're gonna see with the movie itself, or even a trailer, maybe, if they somehow reveal that. We need to see Andy Serkis on screen, by the way. But anyway,
I'm telling you, if we all agreed on everything, I promise you, film discussion would be less interesting.
It wouldn't be interesting at all. Like, that's the point, you know. And but that is my recommendation. Like, just don't be afraid to be bold. And if like you have a podcast, you have a content, like I messaged my buddy Anthony, and now we've been collabing. He dropped today the Ralph Breaks the Internet review on his channel, and I collabed with him. Like, I shot him my edited clip of what I think about the movie, and he inserted it into his review. I would have never been able to collab with him on films if it wasn't for just being like, hey, I need people to like, because I messaged him on Twitter or Instagram, and I'm like, I need people to like, I don't know, I was kind of looking for guests on the podcast at the time, but ever since then, it's been everything but that, pretty much. He's been on the podcast, but like, we've interacted in different ways and became really good friends. So it's like, you never know how things are going to change by just like a simple, hey, or what's up, or like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? Because like, quickly into me and Angel's conversation, I asked him, I was like, straight up, I'm like, you know what? One reason I'm saying hey to you is just like, I loved your reaction, and I think it'd be really cool to break, because you appreciate film the way that I do, but like I said, you can word it better. But
no, man, your insight is great as well. It's unique, and you know, I love all the points that you brought up today. If you didn't bring something to the table, this wouldn't be almost 2 hours right now. You know what I mean? So don't shortchange yourself as well.
I know. I
because
just like there's
the
just
reason
obviously
why-
better that have better grammar and stuff. And
it's the reason why I was looking forward to this so much, because I know how passionate you are, and I know how informative you are, and I know what you bring to the table, and I knew this was going to work, and I knew.
yeah, because I bet you didn't expect that Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 teaser trailer recommendation, because that trailer with that song, I always forget the name of that song, but it's the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun dun-dun-dun song from back in the day. Like that, the way that trailer is so rapid fire, fast cuts. That was probably the first time when I was a kid that like I'd ever seen cuts in a trailer that are that fast, because it was just constant explosions, Spider-Man swinging, Goblin throwing him and stuff like that. Just that trailer is like one of my favorites of all time. It always sticks with me. And just, interacting on Twitter and stuff like that, because Angel over here is like talking about films every day on his Twitter. So definitely follow him at Bluray Angel on Twitter.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Sometimes maybe I talk about film a little too much, and I gotta.
Yeah, like today, he's like, "Good morning. Let's talk about like." I'm like, okay, so he woke up, and before he had his freaking coffee, he's talking about whatever it was, Dune or something. So, it was the red pill or blue pill. That's what it was. I was reflecting on that, but I'm scrolling through Twitter, and like every other thing is Angel. I'm like, all right, so this is why I want him on a podcast, because he loves films like I do. My other recommendation, and it's probably one you guys have been wanting, or you can predict, but the Goat Movie podcast. Check it out. Do not hesitate. Go subscribe to them. They're on YouTube. You guys are through like Anchor, right? Where you have the Spotify and
yes,
Apple Podcasts and all that. I think podcasts should support other podcasts. I know some people that are like, or whatever about that. And it's like, I totally disagree with that. I think that like that's the point, is the collaboration aspect. And just like I said, if you want even fuller thoughts on the Batman trailer with him and his buddies, 2-hour Batman trailer kind of breakdown, like it was great. And I still need to go back and listen to more of y'all's episodes, because I'm going to be spending time on the Goat Movie podcast. Definitely, guys, subscribe to him. I cannot thank you, Angel, enough for coming on. Is there anything you want to say before we completely close out the episode?
I just want to say I love cinema, and good movies have the ability to make your life better and make you a better person, and give you a chance to treat everyone the way that you want to be treated. Take that opportunity, and just look out for one another. We need to, especially during this time.
Why am I always surprised with how deep? Why am I always shocked? I shouldn't be shocked at this point with how deep you go with things sometimes. Like, I literally was like, he's not going to drop anything deep. He's just going to be like something, and then it's like, no, he goes like into the mind. No, that's great though, man. I love your viewpoints on things. I love just your personality and everything. But yeah, thank you guys for listening or watching. Find us on all of it. It's in the description, guys. I'm brain fried at this point. So check it all out, guys. And you guys will be talking to us next time.